Senator Dick Durbin is one of the top Democratic officials in the country, and he went on a radio show where he showed us his thought process for upcoming elections. Let's listen.
Sure, Bustos the other day was warning, as a Midwestern member of the House, like you in the Senate, that the Democratic Party better be careful. Don't get too liberal, or you're going to give him another term.
We need to be balanced. She's right about that. And as a downstater like her, I understand she represents a challenging district. We don't give up on our values, but we better be sensitive, too, that there are people with more moderate views and people who may disagree with some parts of the Democratic platform as they are presented. We've got to be open to that possibility.
So you could lose it by being too liberal.
You can. I think you can overdo it. We have to really appeal to that sensible center. It's a thin stripe now. It used to be a lot wider stripe, but it's an important and determining factor in most elections.
And you wouldn't count Trump out, would you?
No, of course not. I mean, he's going to have all the money he needs. And certainly he showed in the last election that if you take him for granted, he'll beat you.
Okay, so the part about Trump can still win in 2020, yes, that's true. That's true. It's sad, but it's true. But here's the thing. He diagnoses the problem exactly wrong. Trump can win if the Democrats don't go liberal enough. Listen, it really is at the point now where it's like a joke. It's like an episode of a bad sitcom where a politician loses because that politician is too mealy-mouthed and corporate and centrist and too trying to appeal to everybody, what they think everybody wants to hear. They don't really stand for anything. That's exactly what Hillary Clinton is. But that politician keeps losing, and their answer at the end of every loss is, oh, I know where I messed up. I wasn't corporate enough. I wasn't centrist enough. I wasn't mealy-mouthed enough. I mean, how much more evidence do you need? Under Obama, the Democrats lost 1,000 seats. Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump, who's a reality star buffoon who had a 60% unfavorability rating on the day he won, on Election Day. What more evidence do you need that perhaps the Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, corporate centrist, mealy-mouthed neoliberal approach is the exact wrong approach? And then he also mentioned in there, oh, there are parts of the Democratic platform that people would probably disagree with. Go ahead, name the parts. Whenever you hear anybody talk about and make this point, okay, about, oh, we got to make sure not to be too liberal, yada, yada, yada. Notice something. They will never, ever, ever mention a specific policy. They just do the old, oh, let's focus on labels. Let's fucking talk about labels. The lowest form of political discourse that requires zero intellectual effort and capacity. The labels are, they're too liberal, conservative, centrist, libertarian, classical liberal, ooh, fucking labels, labels, labels. What do they mean is that's what you should be talking about. So you just said it. We can't go too liberal. We got to make sure, you know, parts of our platform, people may not agree with it. Which parts? Which parts? You tell me. Which parts? The parts of the Justice Democrat platform, not only do the overwhelming majority of Democrats agree with it, the overwhelming majority of independents agree with it, the exact people who you're trying to get, and even on many of the proposals, the majority of Republicans agree with it, or the plurality of Republicans agree with it. See, this is the Democratic disease. The Democratic disease is, I will never stand up and argue for the things I'm supposed to stand for and believe in. And understand, many of this is by design because they're so beholden to their donors that they can't push for the things that are popular because the things that are popular snub their donors. And they think it hurts them in their re-election effort. Listen, if the Democratic Party doesn't stand for a living wage, doesn't stand for Medicare for all, doesn't stand for free college, doesn't stand for a New Deal, doesn't stand for ending the wars, doesn't stand for legalizing marijuana, if the Democratic Party doesn't stand for those things, what does it stand for? What does it stand for? You know, you talk to a Republican, agree or disagree with them, they will immediately tell you what they stand for. Usually the first thing on the top of that list is tax cuts. They'll say tax cuts. Ask a corporate Democrat. Ask a neoliberal. What do you stand for? Go look at Tom Perez. He's a caricature of this. He's a parody of this. Hillary Clinton, same thing. What do you stand for? Well, let me do my Tom Perez one first. Well, what we're gonna do is we gotta break down the barriers, and we gotta lead with our values. And when we lead with our values and we put hope on the ballot, we win. Hillary Clinton. Well, she actually does the break down the barriers. You break down the barriers and stronger together, and yay! So in other words, whenever people ask you what you stand for, you're going to give platitudes and cliches. That's what it is. Because you don't actually stand for anything. So then don't expect to win. Don't expect to win. They'll never fucking get it. They could lose, and they're basically in the process of doing this. They could lose fucking 3, 4, 5 presidential elections in a row, get wiped out in Congress in 3, 4, 5 election cycles, and at the end of the day, they would still come back with the same answer. We weren't centrist enough. We weren't corporate enough. We weren't right-wing enough. We got to go more in that direction. Be more like standard politicians who believe in nothing, and then we'll win. Or you copy the most popular politician in America, Bernie Sanders, by far and away the most popular politician in America, and you push for real populist left ideas that Americans want. They're so sure that you can't win if you run on a strongly liberal or left campaign. But they haven't tried it. They haven't fucking tried it. We can't win if we do that. What? We tell people what they actually agree with and believe in and say we're going to fight for that? We can't win with that. Give it a shot. Watch what happens. JusticeDemocrats.com/fight.